Yo, what's going on? It's the Connect Podcast.
You're pumped up.
I'm pumped up. I really am pumped up because we have Steve Shireman here. Steve is with Blessed Barbecue, and Steve is going to talk to us a little bit about smoking some meat, which that's incorrect. Smoking some protein. Is that the right word?
Protein is the right word.
Smoking some protein. So, yeah, really excited to have him. Lots of cool things that Steve Shireman is doing in his life as far as starting up Blessed Barbecue and some homeless ministry stuff that's going on. And we're going to get into all of that later. But to kick things off, I want to know from you guys, if you go into a barbecue place, what is your go-to? What do you like to order at any barbecue joint?
So for me, I always go with two items. I go with brisket if it's available and pulled pork.
Brisket and pulled pork, just because that's the flavor you like?
I just like to see how it compares to mine.
I see, that's fair.
I'll be honest.
I like it. What about you, Matt?
Yeah, it's same thing. Brisket's super hard to make. So if you make a good brisket, then this place is going to be legit. And then I think my favorite is just pulled pork. Like I could eat a pulled pork sandwich, I think, every day of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could eat anything that has barbecue sauce on it. Which is oh, here you go. I got this for you. Oh, I lost it. That's for you.
That's
yeah.
the perfect
That's
button
right.
for it.
Here's the thing, though. People get mad at me. I'm a sauce guy, and I like to put sauces on stuff, and I make lots of people angry. So here's a fun story. I'm going to throw my brother-in-law under the bus a little bit here. So when we were in college, he spent a really long time, like, seasoning this steak and, like, was very intentional about it. I kind of feel embarrassed about it, but he serves it up, and I'm like, what's all that junk on my steak? And I just start scraping all of the seasoning. And then I pull out my A1 sauce, and I'm like, there it is.
That's ruined this steak all
Uh-huh.
A1.
Just kill it.
So, but I like A1 sauce. Here's my question for you, though. If barbecue sauce is such a sin, then how come at every barbecue restaurant they have all of their variety of barbecue sauces that you can use?
People like to be creative with sauces, and sauces do complement the meat. But real barbecue, if you truly are a barbecue enthusiast, you want the flavor of the meat. You don't want all the other stuff on top of it.
I must be a sauce enthusiast.
Yes,
you
you
probably
are.
eat your
That's
meat
what
well
it is.
done, don't
Yeah.
you?
Yes.
I don't.
That's a good thing.
I do. I always order it medium because they never cook it medium. They always overcook it. And so if you order it well done, it comes out like charcoal.
Yes.
If you order it medium well, it's like they're always off by one, I feel like, everywhere that I go. So that's what I do. How do you get?
So you eat yours medium well,
Medium well.
which is still a sin.
Still
Yeah.
a sin.
Actually.
Yeah. I mean, I like a little bit of pink, but I don't like it to be like juice and blood.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, I'm a medium rare guy, and it's okay if it's closer to rare. But if you get closer to medium, then it's like
I feel like when it's the texture of it throws me.
that's all right.
It's like I don't know. What do you like?
I like medium rare to medium. So, but it's got to be right in. If it's too far on the medium side, then it's overdone.
It's cool. You just put a little bit of sauce on it, and it's good to go.
You just mask the barbecue.
Oh man. Do you have a favorite flavor of barbecue sauce?
So for me, I like sweet barbecue sauces. And another crutch that people
And you do
will
cook
use.
with barbecue sauce. You just don't put it on afterwards.
Yeah, so when I do my pulled pork, I make a sweet peach glaze, that goes on to it, but it goes on
Homemade?
homemade from scratch. So
Can you give me the detail? No, I'm just kidding.
I can share it with you. A lot of corn syrup.
Yeah.
A little bit of Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce, and then I use Smucker's peach jelly or peach preserves.
Okay. You like sweet too, don't you?
I do. Yeah, if I was going barbecue sauce on meat, I would put sweet. So I see we have our barbecue sauces in front of us here.
We do.
The Crossroads barbecue sauce and that whiskey barbecue sauce that we have is one of the best
Is it
sauces
good?
that I've ever had. Yes.
I haven't tried it yet. I want to try it real bad.
It's really good. It brings together like three loves: whiskey, sweet, and meat.
Yeah.
So
Is there
Can't
any
go
kick
wrong.
in it?
Nope.
No
No.
kick. I like just a little bit of kick.
Yeah, no, it's just straight sweet goodness.
Like the sweet spicy combo.
Yeah, see, I'm not a spicy guy.
Yeah.
To me, a lot of people use a crutch and they put hot sauce on it
Uh-huh.
because all you taste is the heat. You mask that flavor of the food.
Sure. and you like the flavor of the meat.
I love the meat flavor.
If it's good.
If it's good meat.
Yeah. Is it the quality of the meat or is it the flavoring of the meat? Because I know with like brisket, I mean, does the flavor soak in all the way through the meat when you put a rub on it? That's really just on the outside, right?
The rub is really just the bark. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
Now the salt will infuse, and some of the pepper will, but no, you're traditionally just getting the bark flavoring is the rub.
Mm-hmm.
The meat itself is where the flavor is, and they say the fattier the meat, the more flavorful the meat, and I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
If you get a brisket, you have a point and a flat. The flat side is the lean side, and the point is the fatty side. That's where all the flavor is. That's where your burnt ends come from, that just melt in your mouth when you take a bite.
Unless you're eating Steve's burnt ends, and he makes it out of pork belly, which is a fantastic, ingenious idea.
It's bacon candy.
It's bacon, but you don't actually like bacon, Jared, so that might not actually appeal.
If it has some sweet to it.
The only man in the world who does not like bacon.
Yeah.
You're sitting with him.
I like to put
Barbecue sauce on your bacon.
not barbecue sauce, syrup.
Syrup.
I like to put syrup on my bacon. Stop it, Steve. You're being mean.
However you like barbecue.
Oh man. So, Steve, you've been kind of honing in on this craft for a while. When did you first start saying, "Man, I got to get me a smoker and I'm going to start smoking some protein"?
So I actually got into smoking proteins about 3.5 years ago.
Okay.
So I haven't been in it as long as a lot of people have. My father-in-law, he had a grill, and he cooked everything at 600 degrees Fahrenheit. And
Nice.
And they were
Nice and done.
He only wanted to eat as soon as he got home. So he cranked that grill up, fired up, man. And I mean, he cooked it hot and fast. And I just never enjoyed the meat because it was always dried out and frisbee. So
That's how my mom likes it.
a lot of people like it that way.
I don't understand
You're just
it.
wasting a good piece of meat, if you ask me. But I got into it really watching shows like Pit-Masters, BBQ Pit-Masters, and Smoked. Myron Mixon had a couple of those series. And I thought, you know what? That really looks interesting. I really want to try that. So I went out and bought my first Traeger at Costco and threw on some meat. And, they always say you can't make great barbecue until you make bad barbecue. And that is 100% true. You've really got to experiment and try different things to find out what works for you. I always laugh at people who have never barbecued before. It's 4th of July and they're like, I'm going out and buying a smoker because I'm doing a family barbecue. And I'm like, oh no, that's not going to end well because you do have to make bad barbecue in order to have good barbecue
because you learn
have to
along the
your
way.
Smoker. Yeah, there's so much to learn about the process. A lot of people are like, oh, dinner's at 5 p.m. So I'm going to put my meat on at 7 a.m. Well, it's not going to be done in time for a 5 a.m. dinner. If you really
5 p.m.?
Yeah, a 5 p.m. dinner.
Yeah. Sorry. I was like the whole next day? You're waiting until the next morning to eat dinner?
Sometimes.
Yeah,
I smoke the brisket. Most of my briskets take between 17 and 24 hours.
Okay.
So they're a long, low and slow process.
Yeah. We, by the way, just as a side note, Steve was awesome enough to bring us some of his brisket today. So just wanted to give a shout out to awesome Steve Shireman for.
Yes, we've already participated.
That's
in
right.
The goods.
I'm actually slowly slipping into a food coma as we. By the time we get, if my words are slurred, I apologize.
That's right.
Did you have any barbecue sauce on that protein?
I didn't for you. I didn't put any. I wanted to honor the chef. And I didn't put anything on, although I brought these in with full intention of cracking one open, but I didn't. The seal is still sealed. So
Because you didn't need it.
So part of me wanted it. If I wanted it real bad.
As a compliment.
Yeah.
I'll make you some more so you can have a compliment of barbecue
Yeah,
sauce.
thank you.
I'll make sure it's overdone, too.
There you go. I don't want it overdone. I thought we're good. We're good.
Yeah.
So you got your Traeger because Traeger's the only smoker that works to make barbecue, right?
Not true.
Oh, okay.
It's probably just one of the most commonly known. And actually, my father-in-law now has a smoker, so he has a Traeger. That's where I learned about Traeger. So
what makes Traeger a Traeger? Like, what's so good about it?
The ease and the convenience of it. You know, I'm considered a lazy smoker because I use pellet smokers. So you just set it and let it. You know, I can put my.
You have so many of these cool, like, set it and let it, slow and what is the other one? Slow and low.
Low
Yeah,
and slow.
I like them.
Yep. I put my protein to bed every night.
I give you a bell. That one deserves a bell.
Yeah.
Keep going, Steve. Sorry.
So no, you know, it's just it's very easy for someone to learn on and to use.
Yeah.
You know, the old-fashioned stick burners, you were watching your fire and tending your fire every 15, 20 minutes for 17, 18 hours. That's not enjoyable to me. I'm more of a like to put my protein on the smoker and go do my daily business and come back when it's done. So because I monitor all.
Does
of
it
my
have an
protein.
app so you can watch the temperature?
I do. I use an Inkbird.
It does,
Pro.
seriously?
Yeah,
That's I was making it up. I didn't know that's a real thing.
yeah.
That's cool.
I can monitor my temperatures.
Will it buzz you if it goes too high?
It will.
Like an
I
alarm?
set the alarms. Yeah.
That's so cool.
So you can get home.
Yeah.
Yeah, when
So-
I was actually growing up, we grew up on smoked meat, and my dad was a big time smoker. But we had a bullet. There was no Traegers or anything like that, and so yeah, you built the charcoal in the bottom, and then you would soak your wood, and you'd put it in, and then the soaked wood the charcoal would burn it, right?
Like with
and it would
water?
smoke. And then it would filter up through the bullet to the top where the meat was sitting on top. And so it wasn't until I got married that that I realized that people don't actually smoke turkey for Thanksgiving, because from as young as I could remember, we always had smoked turkey for Thanksgiving. And so when my wife was like, "Hey, let's buy a turkey. What size do you think our oven would fit?" I was like, "What? Who puts turkey in an oven?" And it was like, "Everybody, you idiot." And it was like, not everybody.
Yeah.
Like most people don't. But I was wrong. So anyways, but yeah, smoked turkey.
Yeah.
So I've made that a part of my life now. My kids only know smoked turkey.
What's the thing where you drop the turkey into the bucket and it like
Fry
blows
it?
up?
Oh, deep fryer.
Yeah, deep fryer, and you have to like be outside, and it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
That seems like
that's
it'd
the
be fun.
opposite of lazy barbecue.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like fast and furious.
Yes.
Oh man.
Dunk it and get it out before it burns.
Like
Turns
it.
to fire.
Yeah.
So Steve, you buy your smoker and you're like, man, this is a lot of fun. At what point does it start evolving into, hey, this might be something that I want to create a business out of?
Well, actually, the way my opportunity came along was I was smoking so much pulled pork at home that my wife and my 15-year-old were like, well, 13 at the time, was like, "We love your pork, but we're sick of it. Take it to work." So I'm like, okay, I can do that. So I did. I took it into work and served it to the staff. And our vice president of Downtown Experience, who puts on the Taste of Colorado and the beer garden and the different events in downtown Denver, who's not a big meat fan, came to me and asked me if I would be interested in selling my barbecue.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? People want to pay money for this?
Yeah.
How does that work? So, that's kind of how the whole process started, and that was right before COVID.
Okay.
So
this is fairly recent.
this is fairly recent. This was right at 2019. So, this opportunity came about, and we were looking at putting the barbecue in the beer garden. Well, then COVID happened, and no beer garden because everybody was shut down. So, I really started wrestling in prayer, just saying, God, you gave me this talent, you gave me this gift. How can I use it to serve
I
people?
love that. I have the gift of smoking meat.
I have the gift of making food
That's
taste
it.
good.
I love it.
And you do.
It is.
You do.
Yeah. I don't deny it. I just think that's a great perspective. Continue.
Yeah. So, then all of a sudden the meat shortage happened and nobody could get meat, or the prices were just sky high, on meat. So, I had a restaurant license, so I could purchase my meat at Restaurant Depot. So I said, well, how can we turn this into something that could feed a family, during these hard times? So I was able to come up with a way to be able to sell pork per pound at $10 a pound. Well, 1 pound of pork will feed a family of 4. No, you're not going to eat a pound like I will.
Yeah.
But you could get away with feeding a family of 4 on $10. So we created a Facebook page. Didn't think we'd get anybody, interested in it. And I threw it up on a Tuesday. I think on a Sunday for a Wednesday delivery, which meant I was smoking on Tuesday, and I had 27 orders.
Wow.
The first order.
Yeah.
And then I said, well, wow, that was incredible. So let's do it again on Saturday. So we did it again, and I had 35 orders. 13 of the original 27 reordered because they wanted more. So it just kind of evolved from there.
Yeah. I mean, there's a rumor floating around that your meat is so good it turns vegetarians into meat eaters.
My very first catering gig for Biscuit, I had the opportunity to serve a coworker of mine. Her grandfather had passed away, and it was his memorial service. And one of her grandparents was sitting in the back by the food, and she was a vegetarian for 33 years. And she said that the brisket smelled so good she could not resist.
Oh, man.
So she had one slice, and she went back and got 2 more.
I love
so
that.
I don't know if I should feel guilty because I turned a vegetarian into a carnivore, or if I should be proud.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think proud is where it's at.
Absolutely.
You know? More accolades in that direction. Like
I give you another bell.
my dad eats barbecue all over the country. Like, it's a love of his. And so last time he was in, I ordered from Steve, and Steve brought over like the whole thing. Like, there was brisket and pulled pork and burnt ends, and I think even sausage links. He brought it all over. And I think my dad ate all like 25 pounds that he brought over in 2 days. We didn't have any left, but my dad was like, man, that guy is going places with his food. And so
How much barbecue sauce did he use?
hardly any, because my dad's a purist. He's a purist.
Yeah. Man, I just ruffle feathers everywhere I go, I guess.
No, it's totally cool.
So-
Your eating habits are unique.
That's right. I've always felt that they were normal, but
Can retrain you.
apparently they're not.
They're not. No.
I put creamer in my coffee. I put barbecue sauce on my meat.
You like additives.
I do. I like the mixtures.
Yep.
So, and I think it's fair to know what you like to eat, and you eat it.
Got to know.
It's all right. Steve disagrees. Well, we have to move forward.
To each their own.
So that brings me great into our next segment, okay? Which is, I have two different do's and don'ts for you, okay? The first do and don't is, what are the do's and don'ts of smoking meat? And then I added this just because of you today, is what are the do's and don'ts of eating smoked meat or protein?
Well, the biggest don't in barbecue is when you finish cooking your protein and you're getting ready to sit down and eat, if you don't let your protein rest for a minimum of an hour, you will be eating very dry barbecue.
Interesting.
The rest period really is the most critical portion of the entire cook. You can mess up most of the cook and still have good barbecue as long as you allow it to rest. Because during the cooking process, what happens is all of the liquid and all of the juices are being pushed out of the meat because it's getting hotter, so that it's expanding. So that liquid is all being pushed out. Well, when it's in the resting period, all of that juice comes back into the meat. And then that's what turns into.
Where does
really
it come
juicy
from?
Barbecue. It just comes from the outsides of the meat.
Okay.
It just moistens that meat.
And
right back up.
it re-infiltrates
It
into the meat.
reinfuses it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And
So-
and that's the biggest mistake, because most people go, again, dinner at 5, I'm going to throw this on at 7, and it gets done at 4:45. You pull it off, and you gotta
slice it.
You gotta slice it and ready to go. And so that's why so many people mess up their barbecue, is because they don't give it time to rest.
It's an important step to the
Yeah.
process.
Yeah, my barbecue rests an average of 3 to 4 hours.
Okay.
So and
All right.
it's still
So you say minimum an hour,
minimum
but
an
really,
hour. I prefer 3 to 4.
okay.
Yeah.
And when it's resting, is it completely off out of the smoker and just somewhere off?
Yeah. So what I do is
Sitting there?
when I take it off the smoker, I smoke all of my proteins in a pan. So
Okay.
it's in an aluminum pan, and then I wrap it in aluminum foil, and then I wrap it in a blanket and throw it in a cooler, and it will sit in there for 4
What?
hours.
In a cooler?
In a cooler.
Okay. Let's back up. Let's start from the beginning. I want to hear the process.
So
Okay.
my process is
Starting with, you got to buy meat.
you gotta pick out your protein.
Is there a way that you pick that out?
So there is, I look for
Fat.
fat is king.
It's called marbling.
It's called marbling.
Yes. Okay. Good.
So,
I'm learning.
And I'm looking if I'm looking for a brisket, I want the largest brisket that they have in the case. So
Okay.
typically around 21, 22 pound brisket.
Okay.
And then I look for the fat cap to make sure that it's got a really good fat cap. And
Is
to
that
make
something
sure-
that you're looking for on the meat, or does it actually? Is there like numbers on the label?
No. So on the label, you're going to get USDA Choice, USDA Prime. You might get Wagyu. You might get, Black Angus. Those are some of the different terms. But really, the grading process is Select, Choice, and Prime. Those are the ones you'll find in your grocery stores.
Which one do you like?
As long as it has good marbling, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
One of the interesting things when it comes to brisket is that brisket was like a junk meat because nobody knew what to do with it. And then in the South,
where does it come from? Like
cow.
On the body?
The shoulder.
The shoulder.
So right in here on the
Okay.
cow.
So it was the junk meat. Nobody knew what to do with it. And a lot of the poor Southern people figured out how to, hey, if you put this on a fire and cook it low and slow for a long time, like hours on end, then it actually turns into this very moist,
good meat,
delicious meat. And so forever you could get brisket for super cheap. And then Traeger showed up, and now brisket prices are through the roof.
Yeah. Because now everybody wants it.
Yep. So you pick out your brisket. You find the brisket that you want. And like I said, I look for something with a lot of marbling in it. I don't like to cook meats that have been frozen. It does change the flavor profile. A lot, in my opinion. So I prefer that
I think
it's
so
fresh.
too.
So I'm looking for that. And the way you can tell if it's
we
been
agree
frozen,
on something.
That's right.
Isn't that good? Making progress.
The way you can tell if it's been frozen is if you go to the meat counter and it's cryovac in a bag and there's a lot of blood in the bag, it's been frozen because it's defrosted and all that blood has expanded out. So you don't want a bag that's really bloody. So once you pick your brisket out, for me, it turns into about a 44-step process from there.
Okay. He's going to detail all of those. So get your pen out, Jared.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're ready.
Recorded, right? So
I'm going to write on the table so I don't forget.
So once you've picked out your brisket, then what I do is I take it home and I do what's called an injection. So I will inject my brisket. I basically look at a brisket like a checkerboard, and I do it in 1-inch squares.
Okay.
I will inject my meat injection, which is typically just Miner's beef rub or beef base and beef au jus. So you can buy it online, you can buy it in the store. You put it on the stove, you boil it so that all the flavors mix, and then you let it cool because you never inject a brisket or any protein with a hot liquid.
Because it would start cooking.
It'll start cooking and it'll burn the meat. So you let it cool, and then I strain off all the fat particles because that will get jammed up in your injector. So after I've strained it, then I'll inject. Once I inject,
what's the injector look like?
Just looks like a little
like a syringe.
Like a little syringe.
Okay.
Yeah. Like when you get blood drawn from you.
Same idea.
Like that. Same
okay.
idea.
So so after
that's what I was envisioning, but I wasn't 100% sure.
Yeah, it's just oversized injection.
Okay.
Needed. So then I put it back in the refrigerator and I let it sit for 12 hours overnight. And then you can let it sit longer. It doesn't hurt it. You always want to inject a protein because the more liquid you have in it, the more tender it's going to be. A lot of people will say it's an added step. You don't have to do it. You can get away with it, and you'll still make good barbecue. But if you want great barbecue,
but not at Blessed Barbecue.
Not at Blessed Barbecue.
That's right.
It's got to be injected.
You have a standard.
So, so then I pull it out, and then I trim it. So, and then the trimming is key too, because a lot of times the fat cap will be like a 1/2 inch thick, which is okay, but the fat won't render out during the cook, having that much fat on it. So I trim it down. I remove all of the silver skin, which is that little bitty silver layer on top of the brisket. I remove all of that, and then once I get it to the shape that I want it in, and then I apply my rub. I like traditional Central Texas barbecue. Salt and pepper. I use 16 mesh ground pepper, and I use kosher salt.
Is that what you have over here?
That's what I have here. I buy all of my products from Lulu's Farms. They're located up just off Highway 85. And no, I'm not getting paid to say that.
Salt, kosher.
It's just salt and pepper. It is a very traditional rub, but again, I like the taste of the protein. I'm not looking for the sauces and all the other additives. I want to taste that meat with a smoke flavor to it. So my traditional is just the salt and pepper mix. I did bring with me today a couple of products from Meat Church. Meat Church makes phenomenal rubs. You would love them, Jared, because they do a lot of sauces and a lot of the other foo-foo additives.
My kind of people.
But the Meat Church line here is the all-purpose gospel
I heard
rub.
that word foo-foo, by the way.
It
That's
is
right.
foo-foo. And then the holy cow. And really what those are is it's salt and pepper, but then they add paprika, they add onion powder, some garlic salt. But most competition barbecue people really like that red mahogany look for a bark on a brisket. I prefer the black, which is what ground pepper provides. But a lot of people really like that red mahogany look. That's what they equate great barbecue to. So that's why the Meat Church line has a lot of those additives that give it that competition look.
Gotcha. Have you competed?
I have never competed, and I have no desire to compete. I love to watch people smile when they eat my barbecue.
Okay.
I'm not a one bite wonder, hoping that the one judge that took a bite of my food thought it was better than the other 400 on the line.
Yeah.
I'm more about making people happy.
Hey, that's a good place to be.
Yeah.
And I know that you are working at trying to open up a place downtown.
I am.
And it's on. Is it on the
It's on the 16th Street Mall.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
It'll be a kiosk on the 16th Street Mall at 16th and Stout.
16th and Stout?
Yep, just
And
waiting for the city to
open you up. At this place, will you have barbecue sauce available?
There will be barbecue sauce available.
See? I'm not alone in the
In a
world.
limited supply.
Oh, man.
Well, you cut him off on his process.
Yeah, sorry, continue on your
gotta-
process.
You got to
That's
finish the
okay.
process.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
For the listeners, I mean, there's people at home right now writing this down.
That's right.
How to make a good
That's
brisket,
right.
or maybe even in studio right now.
We haven't even started cooking yet. Continue.
No, we haven't cooked yet. So then once you've got it trimmed, there's two methods to applying the rub. A lot of people like to put either olive oil or mustard on the protein. All it does is help bind the rub to the meat. You can do that if you're short on time, which I tell people, if you're short on time at the rubbing process, you're already going to have bad barbecue because this is a long process. So, but a lot of people do. A lot of restaurants use it because they do. They want to get the product on there, the binder holted on there so that they can get it in their smoker quicker. So typically I don't put a binder on it. I just put the rub on my meat. And the key to having a good rub is having a uniform, equal layer of rub across the protein.
Is that just done by shaking, or do you actually
So
massage the meat?
It's a big misconception. You don't actually rub the rub into the meat, because if you do, you'll smear the rub across the meat. So what I like to do is like a typewriter. I do a shaker, and it's really high up on the meat so that it gets an even coat all the way across. And I'll do 2 or 3 passes.
Like this?
No, I shake. I do it like this from a shaker. I'll take that shaker.
But I mean, if the meat's down here, you're shaking it from
I'm
up here.
Oh yeah, up here, because you want that even.
That's how
coat.
Gordon Ramsay does it. I've seen it.
Yep. It just makes for a more uniform bark. The last thing you want is one big clump of bark that you bite into on a piece of protein. Unless you really like a crunchy bite, which it's not bad, but not all in one big chunk. So you want that nice uniform presence. And then I will put it in a aluminum foil hotel pan. I'll put a rack in the bottom, and then I put the meat. So there's 2 ways you can do it. Traditional is meat side down, and then people like me who cook it with fat side up. I'm sorry, I said that backwards. Fat side down is the traditional way. I cook fat side up, but not for the reasons why people say. People believe that there's this magic that happens that when you cook it meat side up, that the fat goes through the meat. That does not happen.
That was where my head went, actually.
A lot of people think that. It doesn't happen. But what it does for me is it's actually in the presentation. So when I go to slice it, it's easier to have the fat cap on the top because it just, to me, it presents better.
Is that how you do the rub too? Then it's with
So
the fat up.
I'll do the rub on the meat side first,
Okay.
and then you let that rub adhere for about 15-20 minutes. You'll actually, what I call sweat, the meat will look like it's sweating because that salt is getting into the meat, and it kind of gives it that glistening look. So once that happens, then I flip it over and I do the same thing to the fat side, and then I'll leave it in the pan. I like to put either apple juice, or I'll pour in the rest of my Miner's au jus into the bottom of that hotel pan, because in the smoking process, it'll steam, and that steam helps the meat to stay the same size. It infuses that meat with moisture. So as it's pushing the moisture out, it's also getting the moisture back in because of the steam process. So I'll pour the liquid in the pan. I put my thermoprobe in, typically right where the point and the flat meet. And you can kind of see that on a brisket. You can see where the fat comes together to the point. I'll stick it right in the middle. And then during this process, I'll have my smoker already turned on at 250 degrees so that it's preheating. I like to smoke with oak wood or apple. Those are my two favorites. I've been playing around.
And these are wood pellets.
These are wood pellets, yeah. So you always want to make sure that you get a wood pellet that's all natural wood and not with glue and a whole bunch of other particles, because who wants to eat glue on their meat, quite honestly? So I prefer the brand Lumberjack. It burns cleaner. I have less ash at the end of the cook left over, and they just make a really good quality product. So I'll make sure that I have my pellet hopper full. My hopper holds 20 pounds of pellets. That'll typically get me about 10 to 12 hours into my cook before I have to add more pellets. So, but then I set that temperature to 250 degrees, and you want to wait until it hits 250 degrees before you put the meat on, because that white smoke that comes out when you first fire it up, that's bad smoke. You don't want a colored smoke on your meat. It will change the flavor profile. So you want it to be a really clean burn before you put that meat on there. So that's why you let it preheat as you're doing your rubbing process, because your rubbing process is going to take about 30 to 45 minutes if you wait long enough to let the rub adhere. And then I stick it on the smoker. I have hot spots on my smoker. Everybody does, and this is why I tell people you can't just go out on the 4th of July and buy a smoker and think you're going to make good barbecue, because you have to know your smoker. You have to know where the hot spots are. You have to know, where you're going to have to possibly turn your meat, rotate it. So I have to set my protein just a little bit to the left of the firebox, because the upper left corner is my hot spot. It'll be typically 10 to 15 degrees hotter in that corner than anywhere else in my smoker. Don't ask me how. It's a barrel smoker, but it happens. So I offset my protein on the smoker pit, and then I close the lid. And I don't touch that thing again until it hits 165 degrees
on your thermometer.
On the Inkbird Pro thermometer. So
if you're looking, you're not cooking.
If you're looking, you're not cooking.
Write that one down.
That's a good one, because that is 100% true. Because every time you open that lid, you're letting heat out. Well, now the smoker has to get back up to temp, so it's going to pour a whole bunch more pellets into your hopper, or you're going to stuff a whole lot more wood into your firebox.
I heard you're not only not cooking, you're wasting money.
You're wasting money. Let that thing sleep.
You're not wasting money? Or no, it's a bad thing.
It didn't rhyme.
That's fair.
So then, like I said, I let that thing sleep until it hits 165 degrees, and by the time it hits 165 degrees, that bark is really where I want it at. It's got that nice dark color to it, and it's pretty firm. So at that point, you can pull it out, and then I wrap it. So before I wrap it, I'll pour more apple juice in, or I'll pour more of the miner's base that I've done. You can add water. It doesn't matter. You just want that liquid in there, because what you're going to do now is you're basically going to bake it. So you're going to, and here's a competition trick that a lot of people don't know, is you use parchment paper on top of the brisket before you put the aluminum foil. Now, I use the Texas Crutch, which is aluminum foil, because I cook everything in a hotel pan. A lot of true, authentic barbecue people will tell you butcher paper is the only way you can do it. My barbecue comes out great with aluminum foil, but I use that piece of parchment paper in between the aluminum foil and the brisket, because a lot of times during that cooking period, that aluminum foil will adhere to the brisket. And nobody wants a piece of aluminum foil on their meat.
Yikes!
So that the butcher paper or parchment paper, what I use, will keep that from happening. So then you want to really tight seal aluminum foil around the pan, and it's just going to basically roast until it hits between 202 and 205 degrees. And again, There's no time limit in that. It might take 12 hours to hit 202 degrees. It may take 20 hours to hit 202 degrees. I don't touch it until that thermometer hits at least 202 degrees. At that point, then you take it out, you leave it wrapped up. What I do is I take a blanket. Make sure you get an old blanket. Don't take your wife's brand new blanket because she will kill you. Take an old blanket. Moving pads work great. And then I wrap the brisket up, and then I put it in a cooler. I've got a 120 quart igloo cooler that I throw the brisket in, and I let it rest for a minimum of 3 hours before I slice into it.
Yep. And if you go 210, it turns into pot roast.
If you go to 210, it's just mush.
You add more barbecue sauce.
Yeah, a lot of barbecue sauce at the
A lot of barbecue sauce.
Oh man, so it's pretty uncomplicated process.
No, very simple.
You can do it this weekend, Jared.
Yeah. I got to go buy my Traeger and learn how to cook stuff wrong so that I'm ready to go this weekend.
Yes,
That's right.
So no, actually, I'm really excited because there's Blessed Barbecue is going to be involved in doing a special event for some firefighters, right? Downtown, where these guys at?
Maybe before you tell what the event is, one of the cool things about Blessed Barbecue is really their mission.
That's true.
And the mission that you have. So maybe speak to the mission and then the event and why you're doing the event.
Yeah. So with Blessed Barbecue, really, I felt a call to also serve the homeless community in downtown Denver. So part of the journey of this barbecue mission has been not just creating a barbecue business, but really serving the community. And there are so many people in downtown that are experiencing homelessness, who aren't necessarily the drug addict or the person who's suffering from mental illness, who the world has just cast away and said, oh, they're no good anymore. So with the mission of Blessed Barbecue is I want to bring in people who are experiencing homelessness that are transitioning their way out of homelessness. One, to teach them a culinary skill, and two, to be able to give them an opportunity to afford an honest wage in downtown.
Yeah.
Because as we know, the cost of living is very, very high in Colorado. So it's really a twofold purpose. There's a mission to serve the first responders, which we're going to talk about in a minute, and then also the mission to outreach and service to the homeless community as well.
And to bless the people that eat your food.
And to bless the people that eat
there's
your
all
food.
kinds of blessings going on. So what I was going to say about that is that we actually have another show called Practical Living, where I'm going to actually go and Steve's going to show me how to go through that entire process. We'll actually get to I get to learn how to do it hands-on, and then we get to hopefully participate in this blessing of the firemen on 9/11 as a tribute to them and all the hard work that they do. And so maybe you can tell us just a little insight of everything that's going on with that.
Yeah, so Brookfield Properties is the property that reached out to me and asked if I would be interested in partnering with them to serve the firefighters on 9/11. So every year for 9/11 Memorial, they do what's called a stair climb. They chose 1801 California Street this year, where 343 firefighters in full gear will climb 53 flights of stairs in honor of those firefighters that had to climb the stairs in the World Trade Towers. So
it felt worthy of a bell.
Right. So we're partnering to serve the firefighters and their families barbecue after the climb.
Cool. That's awesome. I'm really excited about that. So and obviously there's a lot of prep work and stuff that's going to go on for that. And so I'm excited that we get to bring the show out and get to see that whole process and see how all of that goes. We hope to release the first season of Practical Living in October is the plan at this point. So hopefully that can be included in this first season release. But my question is for anybody who's listening or paying attention to what's going on, how can we best support you in this particular event in supporting our firefighters and honoring them?
So right now, Brookfield, a lot of their tenants have reached out to, and they want to financially contribute to being able to feed these firefighters. So we've created a flyer for fundraising. Right now, you can just go through my Venmo account. We're still trying to figure out, because Blessed Barbecue really it's more than just a business. It really is a ministry. I just haven't figured out how to do a 501c3 with a business attached to it. So, because this is one of many events that we're going to be doing, or that we've already done. So we've already served the Denver Police Department during COVID back in October. We were able to feed 150 police officers at District 6. Crossroads came down with multiple other ministries. We had 15 or 17 volunteers that literally just hung out and served barbecue to the Denver Police Department, because as we all know, first responders are getting attacked right and left. There's the defund the police movement. The firefighters are constantly being called to deal with a lot of these social issues that we're facing in downtown Denver that really don't warrant a firefighter's response. So as the city tries to navigate the best approach to how to deal with that, we're just trying to serve the community. So our goal at Blessed Barbecue is to be able to service all first responders, whether it's firefighters, police officers, EMTs, along the entire Front Range. That's our goal. So, and Crossroads has been a tremendous partner in that. So we want to continue that. So this is just the 9/11 Memorial is just one more event that we get to go and serve people towards Jesus. Because really that's what it is. We're providing a meal, but it's really that connection. It's that conversation piece. It's that, hey, love them the way Jesus would love them. Another thing I like to joke, and this is a little off topic or a little off segue, when Jesus fed the 5,000, he didn't feed them broccoli and bread. He wasn't a vegetarian. He fed them with fish and loaves.
Yeah, it's probably smoked.
Smoked fish.
Yep.
Absolutely. So that's really what Blessed Barbecue is all about. It's serving people towards Jesus, which is right in line with the Crossroads mission.
And you have such cool avenues to do that too.
Yes.
Through serving the homeless community, through just your heart and attitude to just, man, I want people to enjoy my food, and I want to be able to bless them in that way. Everyone's got to eat, right? And so, and then also being able to love and serve your community. There's so many good things that is going on with that. Steve, do you have any other thoughts or questions, Matt?
No, I don't have any questions. I just, Steve and I have bbeen friends for the better part of a decade now, and his heart for downtown is amazing, for the city and for those in the city. One of the things he didn't mention is actually he serves as like the head of security for all of the 16th Street Mall in that space. That's his actual day job outside of cooking. And, before COVID, they were making remarkable strides under Steve's leadership, double digit in decline in crimes on the 16th Street Mall, 3 years in a row, right?
Yeah.
3 years in a row under his leadership. And part of that was really because of his care for people and care for the homeless community, and his ability to network within the Denver businesses to go, we can lock people up, but would it be better to actually help them in different ways? And because of that heart, he's one of the guys who's trying to live out the very mission of Crossroads in the city. And now he's just gets another amazing chance to share the gospel through barbecue. Yeah. And so, it's always inspiration to see Steve in the way that he lives out his faith in the business world and in the, social justice spaces of our city.
Yeah, that's good. And that can certainly be a topic for another time, but I really appreciate you not just looking at the homeless community and being frustrated or angry, but actually being innovative and trying to find ways to actually reach out and love and help people. So thanks for doing that and for helping lead the way on that. Man, we are excited about all the wonderful things that Crossroads is doing and the things that we get to be a part of. And so thank you guys so much for listening today, and we'll catch you next time.
Great.